This YouTuber killed at least 71 people. His name is Pedro, and when this story begins, he's 14, living in Brazil. He's young, but empathy doesn't seem to register. In 1968, his father, a security guard, is accused by locals of stealing food from the cafeteria. The town's deputy mayor pushes for his dad to be fired, and the school follows through. Pedro tracks down the deputy mayor outside town hall, pulls a shotgun, and fires. The deputy mayor dies. Next, Pedro goes after another security guard he believes is the real cafeteria thief, and that man dies too. With 2 killings behind him, Pedro runs. He flees to another city about 3 hours away. In that new city, he meets a local woman. They move in together, and she becomes pregnant. She is the widow of a former drug lord, and Pedro steps into the world she was connected to. He takes over her late husband's drug business and runs it ruthlessly. Rivals are eliminated. Around 1970, while Pedro is away from home, a rival crew breaks in. They kill the pregnant widow. When Pedro returns, he's devastated, and the grief hardens into a promise. He will find whoever is responsible. He launches a revenge campaign, hunting, interrogating, and killing anyone tied to the attack. Eventually, someone tips him off. The people who killed the pregnant widow belong to a local drug gang. Pedro gathers 4 of his guys and targets a wedding organized by the gang's leader. They arrive armed, and it turns into a massacre. 7 are killed, and 16 are injured. A few months later, a different slight draws his attention. His cousin is pregnant, and the man responsible refuses to marry her. He takes off to avoid being a father. Pedro decides that isn't going to stand. He pays a visit to the man's family and asks where he is. They say he's in Rio de Janeiro and inexplicably hand over the exact address. Pedro heads to Rio and finds the man at a farm, relaxing in a hammock. They exchange shots. When it's over, the other man is dead. Pedro walks away, convinced every act he's taking is some form of rough justice. By now, he's lived years outside the law. It's 1973, and he's 18 years old, still a fugitive for those first killings back in his hometown. Police find him. He's arrested and confesses to 10 murders. The court hands down a sentence of 128 years in prison. But behind bars, the violence follows, and the system learns he is more dangerous inside than out. During a transport in a prison van, he's seated with another inmate convicted of assaulting a woman. In the cramped back of the vehicle, he attacks and strangles the man to death. Already facing what amounts to life, he continues clearing out whoever he decides deserves no mercy. Inside prison, he keeps killing. He targets murderers, drug traffickers, and men convicted of crimes against children. He fashions himself into a vigilante behind the walls, deciding who lives and who dies by his code. But it isn't neat or noble. He also kills his own cellmate for snoring too much. It's a reminder, whatever code he claims, it runs on impulse and violence. He befriends another inmate, and for a time they get along. Then he learns why that man is there. He killed his own sister. Friendship doesn't protect him. Pedro decides that act is unforgivable and kills him with a knife. He hears several inmates plan to jump him. He buys a knife from a guard. When the ambush comes in the yard, 5 inmates rush him. He stabs 3 of them, and they die on the spot. By the time he reaches 20, he hears about something that hits closest. On the outside, his father gets into a fight with Pedro's mom. He takes a machete and kills her. Police arrest him, and he's convicted. He ends up in the same prison where Pedro is being held, though in a different section. For Pedro, the next move feels inevitable. He arranges to cross into his father's part of the facility. Bribes change hands. He tells a guard he wants to talk to his dad. The guards let him in. He goes straight to the cell, pulls a shank, and stabs his father until he is dead. What happens next is so grotesque it's still whispered about. He desecrates the body in a way that shocks even hardened men. For Pedro, the past has become a ledger he keeps balancing with violence. At that time, Brazil has a maximum sentence law. No matter how many years a person is given on paper, the maximum time required to serve in prison is 30 years. After that, the system must release you. The clock runs out for Pedro even as his list of crimes grows. Fast forward to 2007. Pedro is 52 years old. Even though he was convicted of 71 murders, including killings committed inside prison, he's released. Staying out and staying straight proves harder. In 2011, he's arrested again. he goes back to prison. In 2018, he gets out again at 64. By this point, people in Brazil know exactly who he is. He drifts into a strange kind of legend, the infamous man who claimed to purge monsters by being a monster himself. He leans into the notoriety. He launches a YouTube channel and makes vlog-style videos about daily life. He says he's found religion and shares that he's been baptized, framing it as a turning point. He opens a TikTok account and draws 400,000 followers. He shows up on podcasts and sits for interviews. He talks openly about his past, trying to persuade others to avoid the path he chose. Some see a cautionary tale. Others hear the body count and can't get past the violence that put him on the map. Despite the microphone and the camera, the gravity of who he is never leaves him. The life he lived created debts and enemies, and those don't dissolve because a man starts filming his days and speaking about redemption. One morning in 2023, the past catches up with him. He's at a relative's home. On the porch, a black car pulls up. 2 masked men step out. Shots ring out. 4 of them strike Pedro. Then the attackers use a knife. It's over almost as quickly as it began. The man who once saw himself as an avenger dies the way so many of his victims did, fast, final, and anonymous. The investigation that follows offers no closure. Police never identify who the killers were. They don't pin down the reason for the hit. There are plenty of theories rooted in the choices Pedro made and the enemies he created, but nothing verified. A life built on violence ends in violence, and the final chapter closes without a neat explanation or a named suspect. What lingers is the paradox. He killed at least 71 people. He was convicted of 71 murders. He also claimed he killed those who, in his mind, deserved it most: murderers, traffickers, men who hurt children. But mixed into that were killings that had nothing to do with any code. A cellmate who snored, a friend turned target, a grudge played out with a gun. It's a story of wreckage, not redemption. The timeline reads like a grim ledger. 1968. A firing leads to a deputy mayor dying outside town hall, and then another man falls. A run to a city 3 hours away. A relationship, a pregnancy, a takeover of a dead man's drug business. Around 1970, a home invasion, a pregnant widow murdered, a vengeance spree, a wedding sprayed with bullets, 7 dead, 16 wounded. A chase to Rio de Janeiro, a shootout on a farm, another death. 1973, arrest, confession to 10 murders, 128 years handed down on paper. Prison becomes another battleground, a strangling in a transport, targeted killings behind bars, a purchased knife, a courtyard ambush that leaves 3 inmates dead. A machete killing on the outside brings his mother down, and then a prison cell confrontation ends his father's life. The maximum sentence law means that, as dark as the tally is, 30 years is the legal ceiling. 2007 brings him out at 52. 2011 sends him back in. 2018 sets him loose again at 64. Then comes the public turn. YouTube, TikTok with 400,000 followers, podcasts and interviews, talk of faith and of choosing a better road. He tries to move as if the present can hold the weight of the past. By 2023, the reckoning returns in a black car with 2 masked men, 4 shots, and a blade. And that is where it ends. Not with answers, but with silence around who ordered it and why. It's a harsh reminder that charisma, notoriety, or even late-in-life remorse can't wipe out a history this violent. Every number in this story, 71, 128 years, 30 years, 2007, 2011, 2018, 2023, marks a moment in a life defined by harm. The law capped his time, but it didn't erase what happened. If you found this story compelling and want more true crime deep dives told like this, make sure to like the source and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, and you won't miss the next one.